lads and lasses, it's Tara here from Makematic for episode 15 of the Makematic behind the scenes vlog. I've been asked to come along and chat because I want to talk to you guys or share with you guys a little bit about some of the work we've been doing with New York Historical Society and their teens program. And we have made some really great videos. So I interviewed two of the fantastic co-producers, Akiko and Campbell, and here's what they had to say.
Hi Campbell, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
No problem. It's so good to have you here with me today. Hi Akiko, thank you for joining me this morning. You're here to talk a little bit about a project we've been working on together. I'm dying to hear about your views on what you've been doing, why you're doing it, and also tell us a little bit about the project you've been working on specifically. So just to give the audience and whoever's listening a bit of context, can you tell us all a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Akiko. I'm a senior at the High School of American Studies, and it's one of the New York City high schools that specializes in history and the humanities. I will be attending Williams College in the fall and plan to major in political science with the global studies concentration and possibly double major in either economics, history, anthropology, or Asian studies. And I guess like hobby-wise, I really love art, music, learning languages, writing, and tennis. That's about it for my introduction.
My name is Campbell. I am a high school senior from Connecticut. I live about 45 minutes from New York City, which is where my internship is. I love history, obviously. I'll be studying history at college in the fall, which is super exciting. I'm not sure where I'm going yet. I'm still deciding.
Fantastic. I'm very excited to hear that you're studying history at university or college, as you guys call it. I too did study history, and we can't study too much history in my opinion. So the reason we got to meet is because you're involved in the New York Historical Society's teen program. How did you get involved with this program in the first place, and how did you find out about it? Tell me about that.
So I'm a team leader at the New York Historical Society, and to be eligible to apply, you have to have already interned at the society before. And I was a student historian intern, and I found that just by doing some research online, looking for programs. I saw that they were accepting applications, sent one in. There were like 3 rounds of interviews and a bunch of questions, and then I got my congratulations email, which was great. And it was an amazing program. In summary, I mean, what we do is we work with the society's collections. We help with curriculum development. We create history content. It really is about public history and learning about history as well.
I actually found out about it through a friend who went through the same succession of New York Historical Society programs that I did. Well, now I've been working with NYHS for over a year now. So I started out as a tech scholar, which is kind of where you learn to code. So I learned to code HTML and CSS through creating websites about a woman in history. And then I became a student historian in the summer. And we did much more intensive work. We scripted a tour. We created like a cartoon video through Powtoons. It was much less professional than the one we made for WAMS, but it was still a fun project. And then I knew that teen leaders was like the next level to all of that, and a paid job through the academic year. And I was really happy when I learned that I got accepted, because it was another opportunity for me to explore further into history and meet new people who also like history. So
I'd love you to talk a little bit about the film specifically that you made. Why did you choose that one of all the stories you could have been telling?
Yeah, so I chose Marsha P. Johnson, and I've heard of her in the past, but she doesn't really get talked about enough, and I wanted to learn more about her. I mean, that's the truth. I just wanted to understand what she was all about. And that's really why I picked her. She was such an interesting figure. She was a leader in the gay rights movement. She was a figure in the Stonewall, and she did a lot of stuff. She founded a society, I guess, to help transgender youth and all of those things. I think the reason we don't talk about her enough is because people don't think topics like that are important. I think that's the truth. People are like, oh, well, we can dismiss that, that it doesn't affect everyone. Not everyone's part of the LGBT community. Why should we care about that? In reality, I mean, it had an effect on everyone, not just people in the LGBT community. There were straight allies getting involved, and it was affecting legislation at the time and what was happening in the country as a whole. So, I mean, it's important to talk about her because at her core, she was an important figure and she had a very big impact. And there's this sort of narrative that, people of color or queer people or women, didn't have the same impact that other people had, which isn't true.
Yes. Well, my story was about the Fashionable Rebellion. It was a story of the free Black women in Spanish Louisiana and how they used fashion as a medium for activism and to fight against an oppressive system. But basically, the story is that the Spanish colonists, when they arrived, created a law in 1786 that all Black women must wear tignon headscarves, and part of the reason was because they didn't want multiracial families, because they sort of believed in keeping their bloodlines strictly European. It was hard for the women to kind of resist the laws directly, so they decided to abide by the law, but rebelliously, and they instead used various jewels, feathers, different colors, and tied them in all these different ornate ways to kind of turn these symbols of oppression that meant to kind of degrade them into a sort of symbol of empowerment instead. And it was like a really brave moment, and because they knew that there was a risk for them being punished. And it's impactful because now we can see that it is an active part of fashion now, and prior to this I didn't know about the history of it, so I would see these headscarves and I didn't know what they meant, but it was really cool to know that history and that fashion can be used as a form of activism.
I guess the last question I'd love to throw at you: why do we need to be continued to tell these stories? Have we told enough of them? Talk to me. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that we're just beginning to uncover all of these stories, and I think that it's important to kind of remind and preserve these stories, because while even now women are discriminated against, but we've definitely seen improvement throughout history and achieved the state where we at least have a voice, and in America we can vote and have some sense of equality. But I think that we owe that to the many women in history who fought for these rights, often through nonviolent means, through journalism and for advocating for change. And I guess in that sense it's inspiring, and we have to give credit where it's due and ensure that it motivates us to continue to affect change.
I think you're right, absolutely. And we need to have history that's reflective of everyone, right? You can't just have the same history, otherwise we don't see ourselves in that history in any way. And I think that the more of these things that you're doing and that New York Historical are doing and we're hopefully doing will change that.
There's so much more to history than just what you learn about in the classroom. I mean, every community has museums, they have places where history is shared publicly, and it really sort of transcends the walls in your classroom, and then it has real world applications, and it's very relevant. I mean, in all of our videos we always relate what we're talking about to today. So at the end of the Marsha P. Johnson video, we're what's happening with gay rights today? How can you learn from this? How can you talk about it?
Amazing. Thank you, Campbell. I really appreciate your time. And I will be looking forward to sharing your video with the world very soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Akiko. That was amazing. I just know that personally it's been fun, a lot of fun working with you guys. I've had a small role in that to play, and bigger role was with the production team. Thank you so much, and that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It was great talking to you.
Okay, so that's a wrap. So if you really liked this, like or share this on social media. Next week, or next month I should say, Gianna will be back. So I promise you won't be stuck with my ugly mug. But thanks a lot and hope you enjoyed it.